Hi, I'm Paul and welcome to this video on how to DS a Zwift Team Time Trial team. First, a bit of background. I'm not a pro DS. I've not looked after a team in real life, but having raced and trained on Zwift for about 4 years, this summer 2020 I've started looking after and taking the role of a DS for various teams during the WTRL Team Time Trials on a Thursday and the Zwift Racing League on a Tuesday. Over the last few months I've developed various tips and methodologies that I believe help me to get the best out of the team and for the team to get the best out of themselves in any given race. So in this video I plan to share what some of those things are and hopefully pass on some information that will allow you to be able to give your team the best possible chance for a fast time. Some of the things I'm going to cover are why do you need a DS in the first place? What do you need to be able to provide a DSing service to a squad? The science behind Zwift drafting, why it's important and the effect, including some numbers. Some basics about the TTT itself, the setup, the etiquette and the rules, and some useful tips. Information about course and team knowledge, why it's important to know who you're racing with and where you're racing, and then setting some tactics and planning based on the information that you have on your riders, and finally the race itself. Hopefully you'll find this interesting and look forward to hearing your comments below. When a team is pushing, it can be hard for someone to also call the race. So teams tend to rely on a communal approach, with someone saying, "I'll take a turn next." Problem is, who is I in all the confusion? Talking about yourself in the third person can help, but not really knowing who is currently leading, how long and how hard they're going, when they might stop, and is the next person really ready can lead to an inefficient team. This is just on the flat. The sudden arrival of a hill where differing power to weight ratios can split a team apart because not everyone knew it was there is really difficult, so time is lost as the team tries to regroup. Having someone watching all the riders at once, monitoring on the course where the team is, flagging the potential points of caution or the point of relief with the arrival of a super tuck and just shouting "Stop pedalling" can be invaluable. Team members just need to know how long they'll be on the front and how hard to push when they get there. The DS can take control of everything else. So, what do you need to be a DS? Well, all you really need is a Zwift account to watch the race and the ability to talk to the team. For voice communication, most teams already use Discord, the gaming app, but a WhatsApp call, Zoom meeting, etc. would do just as well. As long as you can hear the riders and they can all hear you, then you're good. In order to watch the race, first you need to be in the right place. Some races will just let you enter the same race pen as the riders, or even have a special team car pen. If the race is in Watopia or another world that's currently live in game, then as long as you're in the same world on your usual game device, you can use the companion app to find your riders. Follow them and then use fan view to see them all. I like to star the riders I'm DSing in the list, just to make them stand out in a given race. Once you view one team member and the race is on, you can use the rider list down the side of the screen to jump between riders during the event itself. You might need to set up a meetup in the right world, if it's not already live, and add an understanding friend to then be able to utilise the fan view and the rider list. Once you're all set up and the race is on, utilise the various camera angles during the event to have an overall view of the race. Fan view will actually cycle automatically through all the camera angles, so it gives you a really good view of the group as a whole as they move along and you move between riders. I tend to use two other devices alongside the game device, one with Discord and a companion app on, and the other with the countdown timer for the start delay, and then as a stopwatch to track team members' time on the front, hitting the lap regularly to time each one in turn. I don't plan to go into too much detail about the Zwift Team Time Trials specifically and how they're run, as there's plenty of sites and videos that explain how the TTT works. But a few quick rules to remember are that it's usually a maximum of 8 riders for the WTRL on a Thursday and 6 for the new Zwift Racing League, usually with a minimum of 3 in both cases. The Team Time Trial is based on the 4th rider finishing, or the 3rd if you've only got 4 riders. Do not charge out of the pens when the countdown hits 0. Teams will have been communicated a start delay and need to wait until this period has expired before making their own call on starting. This is where that DS with a countdown timer comes in handy. Finally, when being passed by a faster team, everyone needs to back off, and really back off, to avoid catching the passing team's draft until they're at least a few seconds in front before pushing on again. This is my first recommendation in this video for ZwiftInsider.com. I'm sure you already know it. It's a great website with all sorts of details on courses, bike speeds, kit, workouts. It's all there. And they've done some great articles on how to use the draft in Zwift, the measurable effects, and also how a TTT paceline compares with the infamous Zwift blob, where a team of 5 effectively race amongst themselves, pushing big numbers, poking their nose out in front, hitting the wind and then drifting back and churning. They've shown that a group of 4 riders can go significantly faster if utilising the drafting effects of Zwift, whilst also having a lower average power for the event through utilising intervals on the front at 110 to 120% above their threshold. This is due to the fact that when not on the front, a rider is having to do much less than threshold to stay with the group. And Zwift Insider measurements suggest the following. Whilst there'll always be some nuances to these numbers based on rider weights, etc., I found that working to these figures with teams develops a fast and organised paceline. This information and how it applies to a given course and group of riders' capabilities forms the basis of a good TTT strategy. The 2 most important things you can do as a DS is to work out how to get the best from the riders you have under your guidance, and also understand the course profile, so the riders don't have to. A time trial team is rarely an evenly matched group of people with differing power capabilities and weight. On a flat course, to simply say, let's do 4.5 watts on the front, doesn't take into account this differing ability or weight. 4.5 watts for a 75 kilo rider is nearly 340. But for a 55 kilo rider is under 250. This means the team is not being pulled along at the best possible power at all times, and some riders would be having a very easy time whilst others are having to work above threshold, even in the draft. Some more ZwiftInsider.com props here, as they have done plenty of calculations on how differing weights can affect speed, even when those riders are doing the same watts per kilo. So on a flat course, I think there's a better strategy, and this is where knowing your riders in detail is important, and some spreadsheeting can help. This is a sheet I use to ascertain a plan. First, I note down all the riders' FTPs and weights from Zwift Power. This calculates their watts per kilo, which is useful for when the TTTs have long climbs. Then I rank the riders by their FTP. After that, we decide a power that for the flat, perhaps around 115% of the bulk of the field, based on raw watts, as a starting point. This number could be flexible based on the length of the race. For a short 40-minute race effort, you might push for 120%. Over the hour, perhaps only as much as 110. This is the figure that you need to decide and agree with the team. The sheet can then help you decide if you rotate the whole group and see who can hold the front for longer periods, perhaps 60 seconds plus, versus others in the team who might only do short terms of 20 or 30. Or do you use a single strong rider or two with others making up the numbers, staying in the draft at a set percentage of FTP, helping the group move forward together at a faster pace? In some cases, you might even tell the whole team to ride a set percentage if the numbers align, effectively all riding an individual time trial, but in a group. The sheet also shows the watts per kilo and raw power required to stay in a certain positions in the line. This can be reassuring for a team to know that they can be well below FTP for periods of the event when they're not on the front. As I said, alongside knowing your team, it greatly helps to know the course. This is where a bit of research into previous races on the route, which include the lead-in and therefore have a more accurate measure of the distance involved, is invaluable. Once again, Zwift Insider is your friend here, followed by some Strava stalking. By searching for a given route on Zwift Insider, you'll usually get links through to the verified segments on Strava. On top of this, you should be able to quickly find an example of a rider who's done this exact race previously and route and can confirm the distance to any significant course features. Sections to watch out for might be long flat pieces where a good rotation of the riders can be utilised in line with the spreadsheet numbers, or undulating areas such as the sequoias, which can be really tricky to keep a team together. Longer climbs, where telling all the teams to switch to a specific watts per kilo that they can all hold, will really help to keep the team together when they might otherwise split apart. Also, pushing that watts per kilo on a subsequent lap to try and improve the overall time. And also, finally, places where you know the team could super tuck and recover. I usually transfer all this information over to a spreadsheet and pass it to the team in advance, and also use it as part of the race calling notes. There's a copy of this document with all of the calculations, the notes and the call sheet in Google Sheets and XLS format in the description below this video. A combination of the Zwift login and Right World with FanView, a call sheet, some timing devices and a bit of research should give you everything you need to monitor the team. In the race itself, I set up a timer for maybe 3 seconds less than the official delay start. This usually lets people get the smart trainer up and registering, having been sat stationary for a while. Pick a rollout power for everybody, say 200 watts, just to get everybody moving at a similar pace from the pens. And finally, check you've got everybody before you start your rotations. Once you're satisfied you've got everybody, after that it really becomes about managing the team's efforts, simply calling each person through until you reach the end or a significant course change. Based on all the various scenarios, a typical race might sound something like this. Okay, I think we're good to go. Leah, you're up, 275. Kate, Claire Reed, 200. Laura, Helen, 210. Other front runners, tuck in. Get ready for your turn. Strong turn, Leah. Keep it going. Give me another 30 seconds. Poke your nose in front, Cassie. Okay, Cassie's got the front. Steph, you can take a break. Ten more seconds, Claire. Leah, coming back to you. Start winding it up, please. We're back to Leah on the front. Well done, Claire. Leah's on the front, 275. Steph's doing the good pull. Come on. Laura, Helen, close that gap. You're my second wheel, guys. You need to hold the wheels. Steph's got the front. Leah, thank you. You're done. Leah, drift to the back. Tuck in behind Steph, everyone. Looking good. Okay, here comes incline again. 4% plus. We need to drop back to 4.5 watts. Everybody hold 4.5 watts. No more. Use your gears. Stay together. 4.5. Okay, you can super tuck on this descent, okay? I'll tell you when. It's not just yet, but there'll be a super tuck coming around this bend. Okay, you can super tuck now. It'll flatten out. Don't worry. Just let it roll. It'll steepen again. Everybody super tuck. Don't worry about this bend. Let it roll. Take a breather. Grab a drink. Towel off. Come on. Excellent. Looks really good, guys. Okay, before we hit the bridge, you need to be pedalling. This carries on with you ticking people off the call sheet as you go for each of their turns. Whilst doing all this shouting, other things you need to consider are, has anyone dropped off early due to technical issues? And what do? Do you carry on? Is someone struggling to lead but could hold a second or third wheel and keep the group together? Maybe changing your tactics for them completely. Could I increase the target wattage as I've still got all 8 as the race goes on, pushing the team to a negative split and gaining time on an opposing team, perhaps even risking a split? At some point though, someone will drop off, so then you need to consider, what did the team agree to up front if somebody gets dropped? Are they a strong rider but just struggled on one section? Are they already too far off, maybe 3 seconds, to really get back on and you have to carry on? How long is left in the race? Could you manage without them? And do you have enough riders left to get a valid time? Eventually though, you'll reach the last couple of kilometres, and this is where the job of the DS is really to motivate and encourage. I tend to get a bit overexcited, abandon the turns in the final 2 kilometres and pick the strongest couple of riders to try and pull hard to keep the speed high. Once the team hits 500 metres to go, it really just becomes a race between themselves, and I'm generally just shouting, go, go, go. If you would like to see a fully DS race, then you can find a link to the video of the Socks for Watts Aero Unicorns during the 2020 World WTRL Champs in the description below. With that, thanks for watching, and I look forward to reading your comments and questions below.